Hello BookTube, my name is Elizabeth. Welcome back to my channel, Bookas and Books. I have a tag for you today that is perfectly fitting for Jane Austen July. It is the Jane Austen Heroes book tag. It was created 2 years ago by Libraries and Labradors, and I was tagged last week by Berna from Berna's Bookish Adventures. And the idea is very simple. The prompts are based on some heroes from Jane Austen. The most famous, so not necessarily Henry Tilney, he's not in there, but you'll see. Prompt number 1. Mr. Darcy, because of course we have to start with Mr. Darcy. Pick a book you thought you wouldn't like but ended up loving. And for that, I choose the Iliad by Homer. It's an old book. It was written in 700 or 800 years before Common Era, so 2,800 years ago, almost 3,000 years ago, and it was written down from an oral tradition. So I was not expecting much from this book. The reason I picked it up is that I found it at a used bookstore, and it happened to be the choice of the Eclectic Book Club for the month of December of 2021, so about a bit more than 6 months ago. And I decided to join the book club and read the Iliad. I expected some sort of intellectual satisfaction out of the book, but not a lot of pleasure. And yes, I did have a lot of intellectual satisfaction of being able to say, I have read the Iliad. But that's not just it. I loved the characters. I loved the world because there's a bit of fantasy in there with gods that are intervening in the daily lives of people, and there's an adventure, there's a story, there are characters. It's really good. I really loved it, and to the point that I decided that one of my objectives this year would be to explore the world of the Iliad, and I've done that. I've read the Odyssey, which is the sequel. I've read the Aeneid, which is some sort of spin-off, I guess, and I'm reading Greek plays at the moment. Well, at the moment, this month, I'm reading a bunch of Greek plays, and I just love this. I have to say, I did not start by reading this particular translation, which is the translation by Robert Fitzgerald. I read a prose translation by Robert Graves, and the title is The Anger of Achilles, and I think it's an awesome place to start with the Iliad, and I loved it, really. Prompt number 2, Mr. Collins. not quite Mr. Darcy, right? Pick a book you said nope to, that you DNF'd. Now, I do DNF a lot of books, but most of the books I DNF, they are kind of soft DNFs. I start reading them, and for some reason I lose interest, and I pick up other books, and I forget the other books I had already started. But there are a few books I'm reading, and I'm saying, no, that's it. I'm not reading any further. I bail on them. And one that I remember very vividly is this one, is Paris the novel by Edward Rutherford. I'm trying to avoid the glare here. So this is a historical novel set in Paris. It has multiple timelines. The one that I remember most was the 19th century timeline. And what I didn't like about it is that it felt forced. It's like the story that Rutherford wanted to tell did not have to be told in the 19th century or during World War II or during any other timeline that he chose. He decided to put the story in there just so that he could name drop famous people, name drop famous events, name drop a whole bunch of things. And I did not like it. It felt full of cliches. And in the storyline that is in the 19th century, there was a kid, a teenager, who was working at an iron factory of some sort for a Mr. Eiffel, of course, he was basically working at the building of the tower. During that time, there was the funeral of Victor Hugo, and he went there. It was a major event in Paris at the time. It was national funerals and all of that. And there he met a girl. I didn't meet her. He saw a girl. He saw her back. He didn't see her face. He saw her back, and he fell in love with her. And I thought, oh, what a load of crap. And I closed the book, and that was it. So I don't own it anymore, which is why I just have a picture of it, because I don't own the book anymore. And I haven't given a second chance to Edward Rutherford because it's really not inspiring. So that was my Mr. Collins. Mr. Wickham. Pick a book with a misleading cover. And for that, I have A Military Man, Colonel Chabert by Balzac. There's a gun on the cover. There are no guns in the book. There's not a single shot. It has nothing to do with war, with duels, it has nothing to do with it. It's the story of this military man who basically became missing and presumed dead after, was it Waterloo or some other battle during the Napoleonic era. And several years went by and his wife remarried. He was considered dead, and then he reappears. And he wants his wife back, and he wants his life back because the colonel used to be quite a rich man. So he wants his life back. And this is what the book is about. It has nothing to do with pistols, with guns, with anything. It's just the cover makes no sense whatsoever. So I have no idea who designed the cover, but that person had not read the book. Question number 4. Mr. Knightley. Pick a childhood favorite that has stuck with you through thick and thin. And for that, I choose very easily and very naturally Anne of Green Gables by Lucy Maud Montgomery. And that is the copy that I've used since I was 10 years old. And I don't know if you can see that, but it's all stained with probably ice cream or spaghetti or I don't know what, because I used to read while, I still do, reading while I ate. So there's all sort of food stains on it. And I started reading that book when I was 10 years old. There was a cartoon on TV and about Anne of Green Gables. It was an adaptation of Anne of Green Gables. And my mother saw that and she told me, you should read the book, because this was her book first. And she loaned me the book, and little did she know that she gave me the book, because it was never hers afterwards, it was mine. And yeah, I've reread that book over and over again, and the entire series. I've reread all of the I used to reread all of the Anne of Green Gables every summer. It's been a while since I did that, but yeah, I still enjoy rereading a chapter now and then. The one where she breaks her slate on Gilbert's head. That's a good one. So Anne of Green Gables, a childhood favorite. Prompt number 5. Edward Ferris, pick a book that keeps coming back to your mind that you can't stop thinking about. And for this, I move to nonfiction. I think all my other picks are nonfiction. I choose Our Bodies, Their Battlefield by Christina Lamb. It's a book that I read for the BookTube Prize last year, and it's harrowing. That's the reason why I keep coming back to it mentally, because I don't want to reread it. It's just too hard to read. It's testimonies of women who were raped, page after page. It's about rape as a weapon of war. And the reason I keep thinking back about it is because, first of all, it's really hard to forget. It's so difficult to read that it's not something you forget easily. But also it's because it keeps coming back on the news. We keep hearing about rapes being committed during war times and how women are the first victims of any war. So that could be in the Democratic of Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo. I think that would make more sense. That could be in Sudan, that could be in Syria, in Ukraine. We keep hearing about it, so it's really, really hard to forget. And I'm glad I read it in a way, but at the same time, I sometimes wish I had not, because I won't forget this book anytime soon. Prompt number 6. Willoughby, pick a book that sounded so good but ended up disappointing you. I have another nonfiction for that. It's one that I read earlier this year. It is Miss Dior by Justine Picardie. This is supposed to be a biography of the little sister of the designer Christian Dior. She is a very interesting woman. So she was part of the resistance during World War II, during the occupation, and she was arrested by the Gestapo. She was tortured and deported to a concentration camp, and then moved from one camp to another, and she survived her ordeal. And that could have made a fascinating story, but the problem is this book is not about the sister of Christian Dior. It's not about Catherine Dior. It is about, I don't know what it's about. That's the funny thing. The second part of the book has nothing to do with Catherine Dior. The author, Justine Picardie, I think she's a journalist in fashion. She's not an investigative journalist or a historian or anything like that. So I don't think, perhaps that's the problem. She had the capacities to do the research to get the information on Catherine Dior. Because she's not a famous woman, the information is not really available. It's hard to get information. And in her book, Justine Picardie kept wanting to find the role that Catherine Dior, so that Christian's little sister, played in Christian's career. and basically she had no role, and it becomes obvious quite early on, and somehow she keeps talking about the house of couture of Christian Dior, and it has nothing to do with Catherine Dior. So it claimed to be about Catherine Dior, but it ends up being about her brother more than her. So it was very disappointing. Last prompt, Captain Wentworth. Pick an underrated book that deserves more love. I agree, Captain Wentworth is my favorite. He deserves more love. And for that, I choose yet again another nonfiction, The Deadly Sisterhood by Leonie Frieda. The reason I say it's underrated, it's not necessarily because it has bad ratings. I have not checked them. I don't know if it's well rated or not. I say it's underrated because I've never seen it mentioned on BookTube. It is a nonfiction, a history. It's about 6 women who lived in Italy during the Renaissance. So we travel from Rome to Florence to Milan to Naples. We spend time with the very famous families, the Borgias, the Medicis, the Sforzas, the Della Rovere. We meet popes. It's a fascinating story. These 6 women lived during very, very difficult time. That's why it's called deadly, because many of them had very hard lives. They were basically used as bargaining chips in, that is what matchmaking was at the time. Women served to build alliances and were regularly betrayed. Their husbands did not like them, did not respect them, and they were used as bargaining chips. And the times were fascinating. So 15 and 16th century Italy. So basically 15th century Italy. We are in the 1400s for most of the time. And it's fascinating. It's really good. It deserves more love. So if you like nonfiction about women, this is an excellent choice. Now I just have to tag some people, and I'm going to tag 3 ladies who I think like Jane Austen, some of them a lot. I'm going to tag Ellie from My Cozy Chronicle, Roz at Scally Dandling About the Books, and Jolene from Bookworm Adventure Girl. Now, of course, it's just an invitation. You don't have to. And that is for me. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these books, if you agree with my review of them. I don't know if we can call it a review, but my opinion of them. If you agree with my choices. And yeah, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video. À la prochaine!